Welcome back to another episode of Chasing Tails Outdoor. I am bringing you this one at 65 miles per hour on Highway 400. We're doing this one mobile in the most mobile of sense, Chase. I'm on my way to North Georgia, and we thought it'd be a great time since it's a 7-hour drive for me to carve out some time and do a podcast, just you and I, like we did. We did that for a fair little bit there, and we haven't done one in a while. So I am your host, Walt, and I am joined by Chase, and the chance that this is the first time you're listening from the other side of the state of Florida. And we bring you tips, tricks, tales from all over the country, the South, Midwest, everywhere, and in hopes it inspires you to get outside and enjoy the great outdoors in whatever way that benefits you most. And today we're going to be talking about our season expectations, what we kind of hope to achieve this year, given that deer season is right at 6 weeks away, which is pretty freaking sweet.
Yes, it is, man. It is getting closer and closer. You thought you felt fall in the air the other day. I have not even come close to feeling that. I normally feel it. It seems like about 2 weeks before the season, like there'll be like a little something different in the air about 2 weeks before the season, but I think that's just to trick us. Like it'll be like a 2 or 3 day window if you're like, man, fall's coming. And then all of a sudden it'll just go back to being like 95, 98 degrees every day for 3 months. But
Right.
But I always tell my buddy that I'm like because every year we kind of do that. It's like, man, I think it's going to be a nice fall. It's going to be a great fall. And I keep telling him, it's like, hey, this happens every year. We always get fooled by like this little 2 or 3 day front that comes in right a couple of weeks before the season. And then I think last year they're like, yep, here it is. Here's our little 2 or 3 day front that's coming in. But yeah, man, I'm getting super excited and looking forward to this season for sure.
Yeah, this season has a lot of exciting components, and I think if you and I weren't careful, we could go on for way longer than we would want to, or any of the listeners would want us to with this. But this is going to be a big year for both you and I, and I think the first like most sudden change is that my season for the first time is going to start a week before yours does.
Right. Yep, technically speaking, but it's not going to start in the state of Florida before mine.
Right.
But you're going to be looking at Georgia some this year, South Georgia. So
Yeah. So I mean, how do we kind of talked about this before the podcast. We've got our kind of our goals and our expectations. Why don't we, before we go into what we hope to achieve this year, why don't we just kind of set the table for what we're doing differently this year, where we're going, and that'll kind of frame the discussion for what we hope to accomplish this year. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, man, that sounds great.
Okay, so you have the most exciting season, so we're going to save you for last because no one's going to even tune in after they hear what you're doing. They're just going to fast forward to your predictions part. But, I have felt like I've put a lot of time into Florida, and since my Colorado elk trip has been canceled this year due to a variety of circumstances, I'm taking that time early season and I'm buying not North Georgia, but a Georgia non-resident tag, which is perhaps the most expensive tag in all of the Southeast, I'm told. And I'm going to be hunting some WMAs that are close to the house that produce a lot of really good deer. When I say close, I mean 2.5 to 3 hours from Tallahassee, which that's plenty close enough to knock off after work and have your stuff in the truck and drive up there for our weekend hunt. And I feel like it's kind of time to start branching out. I feel like I have acquired a skill set that even though it hasn't produced monstrous deer on Florida public, that if I started applying it to other places that have quality habitat and maybe a potential for bigger deer, that or more deer for that matter, that it would start to pay off. And we're going to test that theory this year.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear the same, like deer are going to do deer things. So, yeah, the landscape might be a little bit different, but they're still going to do a lot of those core things that they do everywhere. Like we know they're creatures of edge. They like to hang out in edge. They like they like variety. So those are just some of the things that I think if you apply that anywhere, I think you're going to be successful.
For sure, for sure. And the Southwest Georgia area is still dealing with a large amount of hurricane damage from Hurricane Michael. A lot of these WMAs got rocked, but the cool thing is it's created an abnormal amount of browse for these deer, and in areas where it was maybe all just grass. Now there are entire areas where a dozen or more trees got knocked down, and you've got these pockets that look like they could be used for bedding. I'm really excited. I think that this is gonna it adds a month to my deer season at a minimum, just from the fact that my season starts normally the third week of October in Zone D of Florida. Now it starts September 12th, which is just I'm going to be out there in the peak of the heat right there along with you. So I'm excited to go out of state, and I drew some really quality quota permits that I'm excited about, some of which I've talked on the podcast a couple times now about how I, on trail camera, managed to get some really nice deer on camera. That happened at these WMAs. So, I mean, my season is going to be, limited to maybe 2-3 hours from the house, most likely. But those deer show up on camera. For all intents and purposes, this could be a very, very fun season.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's good that you've had those cameras out in those places and you kind of got some historical data. I mean, that's really important as far as being able to get on deer. So now that you have that information, you'll be able to use that information to your advantage this season, where, as in the past, you haven't had that.
Right.
You've kind of been always kind of behind the eight ball, it seems. And that happens. Anytime you get on new properties, whatever it is, it takes time to figure it out. Even the best of the best hunters will tell you that. I mean, a lot of guys, they, like I said, they use, when you hear a lot of these top-notch guys on podcast or whatever platform you listen to, when they go to somewhere new, they don't just dive in and hunt. Like, if they've got a 5-day hunt, a lot of times they spend 1 or 2 days just scouting, like looking out from afar, glassing, just getting to know the property. I think that now that you've had that chance on some of these places, I think that's going to play in, and you're going to have a lot better chance of being successful, or not necessarily being successful, but I think you'll have more encounters than you have been having.
And everybody knows, as transparent as I am, that's success to me. I mean, 2 years ago, I dive heavily into public land. I struggle incredibly so until the very end of the season. Last year, I had a very up and down season, but it was more consistent throughout the year. If every year I can improve like that, especially in a place like Florida, eventually I'm going to start to figure these areas out. Like you said, it takes time. And then that's when things are really going to get fun. That's when things are going to get exciting. And we'll get into the goals that I've got, going into year 3 of public land here. But let's kind of talk about your season. What's on the docket for you?
Well, there's going to be several new things on the docket for me. A lot of the same old will also be on the docket, as we've kind of forecasted here on the podcast that I'm going to be carrying a camera with me a lot this next season. So that's going to be a big change for me. It's not, and then last season you were kind of egging me to get a camera. Hey man, film some of your stuff. You have a lot of cool encounters. And like I said, I hunt a lot of private. I hunt public. So I obviously I'm going to have more encounters to be able to film. But it's going to be a challenge for me for sure, because I've never done it. So I look back at last season and go, hey, I could have filmed all 4 of my deer kills. Like, it just kind of worked out that way. Like, all 4 of them I could have caught on film, where some years things happen so fast, you're like, there's no way I would have gotten any of that on film and got the deer at the same time. So I hope that I'll be able to get some quality footage. I mean, that's my main thing. I don't necessarily have to go out and just slay it this season, especially carrying the camera. I'd like to get some good quality footage out there and maybe kind of give people an idea of how I hunt. I think that would be kind of cool. If I can get us some content for the YouTube channel and teach some people some things through me filming, that will probably be the best bonus in my opinion. If I get a buck on camera or does on camera, that'll just be some icing on the cake.
Right.
And I don't, and that's probably one of the things that I've got going on the most in my mind is that I'm taking a camera this year.
Right.
And maybe I don't really want that to be pressure for me. I think some people may have like these super high expectations for me. And I have.
I've probably contributed to that a little bit.
Yeah, you probably have. I mean, last season was a phenomenal season. Like, it was a great season. And I've had a season or two like that before, but it's not like that just every season for me. It's
Sure.
not like I'm going out and just slaying deer every season, or real quality deer every season. It almost seems like it kind of runs in a pattern. Like every third year, I'll have like what I would call like a banner year. I'm still able to get on deer. I still kill deer, but maybe it's just not like the quality that people think I should be should be taking. But hey, I mean, some years it's just like I said, it's rough, as in where you're just not getting the encounters that you think you should be getting, even though you're putting in all the time and effort and everything else. And that's just how it works out sometimes, because they're deer. I mean, they're animals.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. And you thinking that and me thinking that I know it all or anything like that is far from the truth, because I definitely don't know it all. But I don't really have I didn't get any of the quota hunts that I put in for. So, but I am going to be hunting management area land down here, and I'm going to be going up and hunting management area land with you in December/January time this season. So I always look forward to that time because I get to meet up with you, get to hunt with you, which is always awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the management areas around here. I've got a good buddy of mine. I'm going to be hunting some of the management areas with him. So that's going to be fun. I've hunted one of the management areas, but it's been like 10 years since I hunted it. And I've been scouting it here recently, and it's changed a lot since the last time I hunted it. So I'm like, man, I'm really going to have to do my homework on this property to be able to try to find, and there are quality bucks there. I've seen real quality bucks come out of that management area. So I think I'm going to have to do my homework there. My expectations aren't super high for there, just because, like I said, it's basically a new property to me. I'm going to be trying to learn it, try to figure out what the deer patterns are there to maybe set myself up for success, not necessarily this year, but maybe next year or the year after that. And on my private properties, I've got goals on there as well. I've always got some deer that I'm going to be after on the private properties. But like you mentioned, I have a place that I'm going this year that's going to be a huge highlight, and I'm going out to Iowa in November. It's going to be a rut hunt with a buddy of mine. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, all the stories that you hear of Iowa and everything, if it's even half as good as the stories I've heard, it's going to be phenomenal. So that's going to be fun. Going out to Iowa, there's a chance, I think we've got about 10 days blocked off for the Iowa hunt. If we tag out early, where there's a chance that we could stop back in Missouri on the way back, because that's over the counter. The Iowa tags, of course, I've been putting in for the last 4 years, and this is like year 5 that I've drawn the tag. So it takes a while, especially for the zone that I'm going to. And I'm hoping that me and my buddy both tag out early, and we can go hunt Missouri for a few days. That's what my season's going to entail: some filming, some out-of-state hunts, and getting to know some new areas around here, and hopefully hunting with you late season.
You know, I'm glad you brought up the late season thing, because I completely forgot about that. Not like personally, but for the purposes of this conversation, I blanked on it, because that's actually one of the highlights of my year. One of the things I love most about hunting is sharing that experience with people. And I think that kind of comes through with my passion for filming. I've always wanted to have a camera in the stand with me, because we all do. If you spend enough time in the woods, you just see a lot of really cool stuff. Whether it's, just an animal you don't normally encounter at close range, or it's some abnormal animal bacteria. Wow. That's the one downside, guys, to doing this while you're on the road, because I just saw a doctor's office thing and it caught my eye. But whether it's an animal you don't normally see up close, or it's a an animal behavior that you don't normally see, you get to document that and share it with other people. And honestly, on top of that, this summer has seemed to go on forever. I don't know about you guys, but 2020 has just been a very, very long year for me. And I'm spending a lot of my time going back and watching some of those videos and seeing little things that happened, and appreciating the season change throughout the videos and how that shows up. So, hanging out with you late season, which happens to be a rut time period, I think that's going to be fun. We've gotten a lot of really good tips on where to go in that time period to really optimize it. And man, I kind of think that we're going to have a pretty good time while we're doing it, while we're hanging out. And still, I'm convinced one of us is probably going to get a crack at a deer while we're doing it, just on the base of knowledge of information we've been provided, and all the scouting I'm doing. I think late season's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good time too. I plan on getting up to those areas kind of throughout the season a couple of times. I've got to get up there and scout them. And I really just don't, for as far as like big Florida public land, I really just don't like showing up and trying to hunt for the most part.
No.
It's really difficult. So I really need to get some, at least some boots on the ground, at least once, hopefully a couple of times in these areas. Cause like I said, we haven't been given spots or anything. We've just gotten good intel of some management areas that we should check out.
Yep.
And we've seen some trail cam pics. So that always helps when they show some trail cam pics of the deer there. But I've got to I need to get there and scout some, and maybe put some cameras out and let them soak for a while, so I can get there. And I think that kind of plays into the confidence thing and going to a hunt as well, that we talk about a lot. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully you and I can get up together and go scout those areas at least a couple of months before we're due to hunt there. I think that would be real cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think my goal in all of that is when you get up here, because, whether you have an off season or not, you're a much more accomplished hunter than I am. My hope is to just, I'm going to be going out there by myself, and I'm going to be running cameras out there by myself. And my hope is to kind of eliminate some of the spots that may look good on a map, or, could hold deer prior to you coming up. And then you and I, with two sets of eyes and a better understanding of that area, can start going into these areas and be really invest time in high quality, high chance areas when we do our scouting together. And then hopefully come January, early January, late December, you and I can put all those pieces together, because if we could extend our season into January, and it be, worth your gas driving all the way up here, then dude, I mean, that's a whole month that most people don't even get. Or if they do, it's, freezing their butt off in a box blind watching a bean field under ice,
Right. Yeah, I've always wanted to be able to go in January and kind of chase the rut in certain places.
Yeah.
I know Alabama's like one of those big states where they've got a lot of rut activity. But why go to Alabama when I can stay in Florida?
Right.
And there are some good deer, and there's good deer up there for the state of Florida. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think one of the things that would kind of help is we'll be able to see where the pressure's already been on them places as well. So I think that'll help with the scouting to kind of go, okay, this is where some of they've already had pressure, and maybe we need to go to some of those overlooked areas as well.
Yep, for sure. So let's dive kind of into our expectations or hopes or what our goals are this coming. That's probably what we need to say, or what our goals are for this year, because with everything that we've got going on, it'd be very easy to get wrapped up in lofty expectations and maybe undershoot just by virtue of getting excited for the year. I'm curious what your goals are with the self-filming and going out to one or two Midwest states and coming up here and just hunting your own public and private that you've got there. What are you trying to accomplish this year going into fall 2020?
Well, like you mentioned, the filming, obviously that's going to be something new for me. So I'm going to try my best to learn as much as I can while I'm out there, because I mean, like I said, it's
Sure.
going to be a process for sure. Probably, I'm not necessarily the most, I don't know, person that likes to talk a bunch. So I feel like I'm going to really have to work on that with the filming, just kind of like maybe explaining things or just not assuming that people know certain things
Sure.
on camera. But obviously, I'm taking this camera out, so obviously, I want to get just some good footage of deer doing deer things. Obviously, I think it's just going to be an added bonus if I can get kills on camera. I think it's possible. I think it's a challenge for Florida. Like I mentioned earlier, I've always thought it was going to be a challenge for Florida. Now that it seems like there's getting to be more and more guys that are filming for Florida, but a lot of the times you don't see the kill shots on
Right.
those hunts. Like they're filming their experience and their hunt, but there's quite a few videos out there where you like they didn't get the kill shot on camera or anything like that, which doesn't. I mean, to me, that this just they're showing their experience and they have the deer to show it. But I mean, I'd like to get that. I'd like to at least hopefully get one of those on camera this season. I think that'd be cool. I'm not only filming for just say the YouTube channel or for people to watch. I mean, I'm filming for myself. So I'd
Right.
like to be able to go back and watch those things. And I think it's going to help with the overall learning process for hunting. I mean, we've talked about this before with the filming. When you're doing it in live time and you're not filming and you shoot, and I mean, it all happens so fast. Deer runs off, you go find the deer, and you're like, man, that shot is like 6-7 inches higher than I was aiming at. What happened? Did I mess up, or did the deer duck during the shot, or anything like that? And I think that you can go back and look at those films and go, oh shoot, that deer ducked whatever 6 inches on that shot. So I think there's a lot that can be learned from filming as well, and,
Sure.
and I think it helps. Like say, if you got something that you're questionable about, you can go back and look at the footage and go, oh man, maybe I should hold off going and looking for that deer for a while because it looked like the shot is high or a lot higher than
Right.
I thought it was. So I'm looking forward to all those aspects. But like I said, I'd like to get at least one good film out there for everybody. Obviously, in Florida, we get 5 tags. So, I mean, the chances are better because if you mess up on one, you've still got 4 more that you could
Right.
hopefully get right if everything works out, obviously. I may practice on some doe. I mean, we get 2 doe tags during archery season,
Yeah.
so that may be my chance is just to practice on a couple of does during archery season, kind of get in a groove on how everything needs to flow when the old big boy does step out this season. That's one of my goals. As far as going out to the Midwest, man, I'm going out there just to have a real good time. I mean, it's a new experience for me. It's property that I've never touched before. I mean, obviously, I would love to go out and kill a deer in Iowa. I mean, it took me 5 years to be able to get out there. So obviously, I'd love to take a deer out there, but I'm not going to have this goal as like, all right, I'm going to shoot a booner out in Iowa or
Yeah.
anything like that. I'd like to just shoot a good representation for that area. If I get to stop in Missouri, that's just going to be a bonus. So I don't really have any goals there other than it'll just be a new state, a new experience for me.
Sure.
And as far as Florida goals this year as deer, I mean, obviously I'd like to take a good quality buck on the public land I'm going to be hunting down here. That would be awesome. But I mean, if I don't, I don't. It just a goal of that is just to be able to learn some of those areas. And if I get on a good buck, it's going to be a bonus. And for my private properties, I mean, who knows? I'll know more during the season for there on
Yeah.
what showed up, but what I'm catching on camera. I mean, I've got a good buck on camera now, but we all know during the summer things change, deer shift patterns. You'll have deer that are on your property during the summer. They'll move out, and then you'll have new deer from other properties move in. I never really know what's going on there for the most part until the season gets to kicking off. But there is one deer Oh, actually, there's one deer that I met up with last year. Oh man, that still pains me. Still burned in my mind, that whole experience. But if he's still around, and then there's another deer that's he's at least going to be 6.5 years old this season. So he's not the biggest rack deer. He's always been around that 105-inch mark, maybe between 105 and 110 over the last 3 seasons. But he has some. Last year he busted off half of his rack, so I didn't even worry about him when I actually caught him on camera. But I'd love to take him because I know this is like a super mature deer, and I've had one encounter with him in the last 3 years. So he's kind of evaded me. So I do think that I've kind of picked up on some stuff to make me more successful with him. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I could have went in and killed him last season because he was real visible towards the end of the season in daylight. But yeah, I don't have any. I'm not going to go out and say I'm going to go kill 4 100 class bucks or 5 100-inch deer in Florida this year or anything crazy like that. I mean, I want to have a good time. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself. So I hunt for a good time. I do this podcast for a good time and to meet new people and to get information from the people that we have on the show so I can learn more myself. And then if I have anything that people can take away too, that's a bonus. So those are all my goals for this season. What are your goals, Walt?
Well, I think mine are going to echo yours, and I think both of us are staying pretty true to what we want out of the outdoors, right? Like I think we'd be setting ourselves up for failure to be like, oh, we want to go after 9 Pope and young deer or whatever it is, whatever number. I think that is just destined to change. There's too many variables, and so for me, I can kind of see like 3 underlying goals, and the first kind of goes across the following two, and that is. You hit the nail on the head. A lot of people don't get the kill shot or that those really intense moments right before the shot on film. And I think I'm going to commit this year to getting all of those on film. It kind of harkens back to why I film. I film because I want to relive those moments. And if first and foremost, obviously other people enjoy it and that makes me happy as well. But first and foremost, I film so that I can go back and relive those moments. And if I leave that piece out, I'll always have a memory of it because I was there, obviously. But I feel like I will, as a creator, I feel like I'm always going to be like, dang it, I wish I had just gone ahead and tried. Like I think it'd be more exciting for me to relive a moment of depression because I tried and I didn't get the shot than, reliving half of the story. I don't know. That's just kind of how I see it through. And after being able to do that this summer, I want to be able to do that, moving forward. Now, if it's storming, I'm not taking my camera. So, those kind of I'm still going to hunt. But I think my first goal is just to connect as many times as the season allows with the camera and be happy with it. And then the second kind of comes to me being a hunter, right? My ability as an outdoorsman. And it's kind of twofold. One, I feel like I've got a really good grasp on a couple WMAs. I've put in several years there. I've had a lot of close encounters. Some people have helped me along the way. And I feel like in those WMAs, those are the places I expect to get on deer, and I expect to do the majority of my harvesting from those spots. And this year, my goal beyond that is to go up to Georgia, go a little further west, go a little further east of Tallahassee, and begin the process of understanding those other WMAs. Because I feel like one of the mistakes I made early last year was I tried to spread myself too thin. I was trying to get as much knowledge and get as many spots as humanly possible. And if you've been following the podcast for a while, you probably heard the dialogue change from I'm trying to get as many. I think at one point I said I wanted like 50 spots. I want 50 spots that at any point in time I can get away from pressure. And as the season progressed, I ended up honing in on a couple core spots that were producing deer that I was getting on deer. And so this year I'm going to try and capitalize on those spots, but then add a couple more core spots on other pieces of property. And if I can continue to do that slowly over time, I'll eventually have a really good swath of hunting, within a couple hours of my house. And at that point, I've got maybe not 50 quality spots, but maybe I've got 20 to 25 quality spots that I feel more confident going in. And a lot of that's coming through scouting. A lot of that's going to be coming through spending a small fortune on trail cameras and getting those out there and keeping them running. But honestly, I just want to get out there and improve as an outdoorsman, improve as a cameraman, as a creator, tell the story of what I experienced to its fullest. And if I can do those things and kill a couple deer along the way, I'll be happy. But I'll be frank. If we want to talk about punch tags, I think honestly this year I'm probably going to punch 2 or 3 tags. Maybe they're does, maybe that's a combination, but I feel really confident, not cocky, but really confident in the amount of preparation and the time that I've put into these WMAs moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a solid goal, or goals in general. There's no reason to add a bunch of extra pressure or make these goals that really may not be obtainable.
Right.
Like
right.
I said, I was like, well, I can go out and tell you I'm gonna kill 5 120-inch bucks this year. Well, that's not really obtainable.
Right.
I don't know anybody that's done that. So for me to go say something like that would just be dumb. And like you mentioned, we're not professionals. We don't do this for a living. We do it because we like to do it and we have fun doing it. So I think that's my number one goal always, is to have fun and to keep it fun. Because once it gets past that, then it becomes work, and I don't want it to be work. I just want it to be go out, have a good time, and just enjoy. I'll use it to get away from work, not to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those things where I was watching some of my hunting videos from last year with a buddy of mine, and I realized I get amped over the smallest things. Like when I had that close encounter with the bobcats, I was over the moon. When I had those turkeys come behind me on like 10, 15, yards behind me through the trees, and I'm on the ground, and you can hear them clucking and purring, kikiing and plucking. It was cool. You could hear them scratching the leaves. Like, I was in nature and I was involved with it. When I killed that deer, obviously I was emotional. I mean, I asked him, I said, dude, does it get annoying how like over the moon I get over the most stupid things? And he's like, actually, no, I kind of wish I could check out and just enjoy those small things. And I'm trying to stay true to that, because I feel like that's how I enjoy the outdoors, is just being out there and being immersed in something that's not a concrete jungle. And if I keep my goals that, and I work hard towards harvesting deer, and I get lucky along the way, I think I'm just going to, that's the recipe for you and I to just always enjoy it and find the motivation when it gets exhausting, because it does get exhausting.
Yeah. There are times where it kind of gets exhausting. I mean, I love hunting so much that I could do it every day. I mean, I'm one of those people. I mean, some people just like, I've got to take a break or whatever. To me, that's not, I don't have to take a break. Like, I literally could go every day of the season hunting. And some people are like, man, that's crazy. How can you do it? Don't you get bored? Or I was like, nah, it's just, that's my fun. That's what I call fun. That's what I really like to go do. And that's what I've told people. I was like, because some people are like, oh yeah, what you gonna do when you retire? You can't hunt and fish every day. I was like, no, I literally could hunt and fish every day of the year, one or the other. But so yeah, I look forward to the season. I'm gonna. What I wanted to, or what I forgot to mention, one thing is one of my goals is I've got some historical data on places, so I need to keep that in mind and use that historical data as far as maybe not jumping into areas too soon, because I feel like I've done that before. Even some last season where I kind of dove in a little bit too soon to some areas. I don't think it necessarily hurt me that bad, but I think that it might be better that I don't just jump into those areas. Maybe spend some time hunting some other areas like these management areas and stuff around here before I kind of dive into some of my really good areas. So that's something I'm going to work on this season.
Yeah, and that historical data thing, that's something I want to do a podcast with you soon on, because I was sitting there this morning thinking about historical data, thinking about, we always talk about this game of putting the puzzle pieces together, and the puzzle pieces sometimes are data points, sometimes they're trends that we identify, but I don't think we've ever done ourselves, you and I, on how we put those data points together, how we use that historical information, or how we even gather it for that matter. So I think that's going to be a fun episode that you and I don't know, maybe here soon, as we people are starting to think about deer seasons gone by and in anticipation of the one coming, and maybe we need to kind of tell people how we go about collecting them, analyzing them, sifting through what isn't, good information.
Right.
I think that'd be a fun dialogue.
Yeah, it would be a fun dialogue. I was thinking about something this morning. I went out and was scouting WMA, and I was seeing some deer, and I was noticing that some of the fawns on this WMA had already lost their spots. Like they weren't fawns that were a year and a half old or whatever. They looked like they were fawns from this past year, but they had lost their spots. And I was thinking, I was like, man, so if they've lost their spots, it normally takes them about 3 months to lose their spots. So I was trying to and then a gestation period for a deer is about 7 months. So go back 10 months from now and go, okay, well, that's obviously when the does over here were hot. You know what I mean? On this part of the WMA. And then I've seen on other parts of the WMA, maybe, I don't know, 5 miles down the road, because it's kind of broken up, where the fawns still have spots. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's a little bit, those were bred a little bit later. So I'm thinking, I was like, well, okay, well, maybe I need to spend my time on this side during this, because I know it's going to be hot around this time. And then after that, I need to focus on the other side, because I have, through trail camera data and driving around and stuff, have figured out, oh, it's going to be hot over there maybe a month later.
Right.
So just something to think about for people. And when they're scouting and looking at trail cam pics and stuff like that, is don't always just quickly go through the does and fawns and stuff, because you may pick up a little something from that.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be that would be a fun thing to break apart. So let's put a pin in that component of this dialogue, and send people on their way in anticipation of an episode where you and I break down how we analyze trail camera. That's what it needs to be, is how we analyze the information we get from trail cameras, how we implement them, how we take that information, and is it useful, is it not, and then how we use it to make predictions moving into our deer season. That sounds like it'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be a fun podcast. Yeah. But I think we'd be remiss before we go. Let's make a bold prediction for the other person, not for each other. I make a bold prediction because we already made a bold prediction for ourselves.
For ourselves,
kind of.
Yep.
So let's make a bold prediction for the other person. Last year, I remember we made some bold predictions, and I said that you were going to tag out last season. But I mean, it was a bold prediction. That's what bold predictions are.
Yeah.
Things that could maybe happen, but probably won't happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
For the most part. But I'm going to go. My bold prediction for you this season is that you will tag 4 deer total.
Wow.
And then 2 of those will be bucks. So you're going to kill at least 4 deer, and 2 of which are bucks this coming up season.
I'm okay with those odds. If anybody with the power to make that happen is listening, please.
That's you, Walter. You have the power to make that happen.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I'm going to go a similar route. You kind of took my idea a little bit, actually. Because originally I was going to say I would think you would kill 4 deer on camera, 2 of which would be does for practice. So I'm going to go a step beyond that. I'm going to say, bold prediction, you kill 4 deer, 1 in Iowa, 3 in Florida, and all of them will be on camera.
Okay.
That's my bold prediction.
That's a bold prediction for sure, for all of them to be on camera.
Yeah, and that's not me pressuring you to do so. I just think that once you get in the process of doing it, I have a vote. It's a vote in favor of your abilities as a deer hunter, but also I think that once you get going in that process, I think you're going to start really enjoying having the video to look at afterwards, and it's just going to feed itself.
Right. Yeah, so. I'm still kind of on that verge because I'm like, I'm not gonna pass up a shot at a huge deer to get it on camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I say that, but everyone who films after a while, they're like, if I can't get it on film, I'm not gonna shoot
Yeah.
it. So I'm just like, okay.
Oh man. Well, and I think for me that's why I said so long as I can get it on film, right? Like I'm not going to not go hunting because the weather's bad and I can't take my camera. And
Right.
likewise, if a deer comes in and I've got enough shooting light to shoot it but not enough for you to see it on camera, I'm still also shooting it.
Right.
you know. So, under those two circumstances, if it's good light and it's good conditions to take the camera, I'm going to tote it and try and get it on camera. So oh man, dude, 6 weeks out by the time everybody's listening to this before the deer seasons begin. I can't believe it's here. I feel like we say that every season, but I feel like we just hung up our turkey gear, fished for a couple weeks, and suddenly we woke up and we're right on the brink of deer season.
Yeah, we are, man. It's getting close. For Zone A, it starts this weekend.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
there will be some Florida boys and girls in the woods this
Good
coming
luck
up
to Mark and
weekend.
Danny.
Yeah, so we want to wish luck to everybody down in Zone A. So send us your pictures. Tag us. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Who knows? You might find yourself on the podcast telling the story.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting the show lately. We have seen a record number. In fact, by the time you listen to this, July will probably have been done and over with. And July was a record-breaking month for Chasing Tales. Our downloads shot through the roof, and it's evident that all of you guys have been sharing the word about Chasing Tales. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who have taken the time to do so, and just ask you to continue to do that. We focus on the content, and we hope you guys will do the marketing for us and share the word, and it looks like you are. So huge thanks and shout out to everybody who's been doing that. Shout out to our Patreon subscribers, and until next time, y'all get outside and enjoy the great outdoors.